the secret to selling personal training for a long-term client. Be transparent. Don't be a jerk. If you want to sell long-term personal training to somebody and you expect to keep them as a client for a long time, it starts on a foundation of trust. And if you don't have somebody's trust from the get, you're going to have a hard time trying to acquire it over time or make up for some of the sales sleazy techniques that you use in the beginning that most people get taught in the fitness industry, which is a massive problem in itself. But when it comes to meeting with a client, my main thing is speaking to the person that's in front of me. Get to know who they are, get to know what they're about, and ultimately why they're coming to you. It's not about your motives, it's about your client's motives. What drives them? And most people are going to come to you in a very vulnerable perspective in the way that we should also be vulnerable in our conversation. But that's where we create the connection that we ultimately need to in order to build the relationship that we want to for a long and sustainable period. Because if you're in this to help people, then you're going to want to make sure you're going in with the right intentions, especially from the get. And if you don't have the right intentions or the person you don't necessarily resonate with, that might be something you need to reevaluate before you try and do anything long-term with that person. But on top of building trust, you have to know that when you are recommending personal training to someone, you need to recommend what they need and not what you think they're willing to buy. And there's a key differential between those two things. Most trainers will recommend what they believe the person is going to purchase. And that is an ultimate flaw right from the start. Because if I'm recommending what I think you're trying to purchase, that means I'm not recommending or letting you know what is actually what you should be doing to get the results that you want to. So for example, if someone came to me and they said, hey, I want to drive from New Jersey to Boston, I would say, here are the directions, here's how you get there, here's the distance and time, and here's about how long it should take as long as you don't hit traffic. But for some reason, when it comes to recommending personal training for somebody, we get very nebulous and bird's eye view when it comes to the conversation. We're not as direct with the person about the granularity of what we're looking to do. Because if someone says, I want to lose X amount of weight in X amount of time, we can either tell them whether it's possible or not, whether that's the right timeline or not, whether it's going to take certain things, certain types of activities, or certain protocols. Versus having somebody come to you and say, hey, I want to drive to Boston, and you go, okay, you're going to have to drive north from New Jersey. It's going to take you about 3.5 to 4 hours. And they go, well, I want to drive south. At that moment in time, you have to be very clear with your integrity and your ethics in saying, you can't drive south because Boston is north. So if you're expecting to get there, you need to go this route, this is how long it takes, and here are the avenues you can get there. If you're unwilling to do that, then unfortunately you will not make it to your destination. So you got to remember that when it comes to selling someone for personal training long term, it comes from a proper program recommendation. You have to know why you're telling someone that they have to do a certain amount of work in order to get a certain result. And that is the key difference between telling someone and selling someone on what they need to do long term. The key thing that I try and tell coaches is tell, don't sell. Tell them what it's going to take, what they need to do, and how long they can expect to get that return on their investment. Don't sell them on the package you think they're going to buy, what you think they're going to afford, or what you think you're going to be able to get out of them. Because if you're going on the selling version, then you don't necessarily care about the person in front of you and the results they're going to get. If you're telling someone from the get, here's what you need to do, here's how long it's going to take, and here's how much I would need to see you or a coach would need to see you in order to see results, then you're starting from a place of trust and transparency that you can build a long-term relationship on.